Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zorkel Profiles. I'm here with my friend and co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Tracy, we have a very special guest today, Patrick Hyland. I have been wanting to get on the show for at least the last year and a half. He's finally been able to clear his calendars. Woohoo! So Pat Hyland's extensive experience in franchising spans over 3 decades, reflecting his deep commitment to the industry. With a focus on servant leadership, Pat assists prospective entrepreneurs in evaluating their suitability for business ownership and guides them in selecting the most fitting opportunities. Having held executive roles both in franchise companies as well as a franchisee, Pat brings a comprehensive perspective to his work. His training initiatives have empowered thousands of small business owners, equipping them with essential skills in marketing, recruitment, and goal setting. I really want to dig into his book, Stop Chasing Two Rabbits. It's a business ownership. Is business ownership right for you? This is a very inspirational read that adds clarity to entrepreneurs as they're navigating the maze of career choices. And of course, I also want to talk about Cindy, your lovely wife, Pat. I wish she could have made it today. I should have asked that she come, but nonetheless, we're so grateful to have you today. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
So I want to go big, okay? I want to go big since I only have you for just a few minutes. If you had a message, Pat, that you wanted to get out to the world of business ownership, women in franchising, just people in general, do you have something on your heart that you'd like the world to know?
Well, that's a great question. I do, and it's actually been forged over those 30 some years in franchising. I spoke to so many people throughout my career, and some of them have come back to me and later on go, boy, I really have the taste of regret that I never did something that I should have. And I look back over time. And Rebecca, that's heartbreaking because those are often conversations that aren't just flippant. They're emotional and they feel like there was a loss of opportunity for them and their family. And so really my mission is to help aspiring entrepreneurs determine if business ownership is right for them, because the reality is too many people later on in life, they didn't even know they had a decision to make. Sometimes they get to a point in their life and they go, boy, I let life pass me by. I didn't even have a guardrail or a stopgap to say, hey, where are you at right now? Do you need to do something different to achieve your goals? And that's really my mission right now. It's not to get people into business. It's not to have people change careers. It's not to have people do anything. It's literally to have them self-reflect. Do I need to do something in my life different to achieve the goals in my life? Whether that is a vehicle of business ownership, maybe changing a career, or do I keep down the same path? Because then they have their own decision to make. And then, that makes me feel good. I can sleep at night that at least I'm getting a message out there, because a lot of times now I get messages back that are like, thank you so much for this, because now we've accomplished X in our life. And we appreciate you taking the time to do that. So yeah, that's really my main mission.
Nice. So it sounds like you've come across a lot of people that have regrets in their careers, like a failure to do something or a failure to make a choice. Is that what you're saying, like the biggest?
Yeah, and it is. And the one thing I'll share about that too, Tracy, though, is the reality is no matter where they're at, typically it's still not too late.
Ah,
What I have to help them understand, yeah, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today. And so what are you going to do from now on that's going to help you get there? And honestly, it doesn't take as long as people think it usually does. So we got to get them from that taste of regret mindset to say, hey, you still have a choice.
so I have a burning question for you. So when you say that people haven't made a choice, is it that they haven't made a choice or they just don't know their options?
More the latter. They just don't even know that they had to have a choice to make because they really didn't understand where they were in their life and where they wanted to be. Because here's the reality. I'm 57 now, right? When I was 46 and this really kicked in for my wife and I, and it really took off, we had been working on a plan for that time for over 17 years of our life. We had a goal set, Tracy, which was by age 55 to have a minimum $5 million of income producing assets, generating a minimum of 5% return, which is $250,000 a year of passive income without working and no real personal debt. We had this written specific goal for 17 years. We had been working on. Guess what?
What?
We weren't even halfway by the time we're only about on track to be about 2.2 to 2.3. Guess what? I just at that point had a plan and a goal, but I didn't have clarity about what it's going to look like if we didn't achieve it. What would be the impact if we didn't? Because here's what happens. We got married. We had children. We bought a home, had new careers, got cars. We took vacations. See, we were on focus with our goals, but were we making decisions that were taking us towards our goals or away? Not saying that kids are bad, not saying that vacations weren't, but were we doing all those little things along the way to make sure we were working towards that, if that answers your question.
I think that's brilliant. You have this very distinct goal, but it's a big, bodacious goal. And then life creates a certain level of inertia, right? So what was the answer? Was it to break it down into smaller pieces? So you could know you were on the right course, or how could we have gotten there the way we wanted in the timely fashion?
Well, it was a clarity thing. It had to become a must fix and not a maybe fix for them.
Okay.
It had to become a must fix. It was a maybe fix up until I was 46. But when 46 happened, we had a 14-year-old son that was a competitive gymnast here in the state of Texas at a very high level. He was almost 15, and you're not almost 15, still doing gymnastics unless you're doing something well. And unfortunately, he suffered a severe traumatic brain injury during a gymnastics accident that they said if our son did live, he'd be on a ventilator in the nursing home the rest of his life. And my wife and I had a decision to make at that point. We said, what happens if something happens to us?
Yeah.
Who's taking care of Blake? Because we didn't want him to go to a state institution, and God forbid. So we did a life plan study, and they came back and they said it would take no less than $12 million to $23 million to care for him the rest of his life. God forbid something happened to Cindy Roy.
Wow.
Rebecca, that $5 million that we weren't even on track for didn't even come close to what we needed to do. So we literally had clarity in our life was, is this a must fix or maybe now we need to do what we need to do to accomplish that. So that's how we got into franchising. Since then, we've opened 11 franchises of our own, multi-concept, different businesses to a point to where it was after that 6 years and 2 months later, our son never had anything to worry about again. And it just, and by the way, he went after 7 weeks being in a coma and then longer, he went from 140 some pounds down to 110, was in a diaper again, couldn't walk, talk, or move. Eyes were fixated to the right. He had a feeding tube, poured it into him directly in a trach, and they tried to send us home. And my wife, who was the absolute rock of our family, amazing woman, she quit her job. She moved to the Ronald McDonald House in Dallas and lived with our son for 16 months and took him to neuro rehab from 9 in the morning, 9 till 4 every single day.
Wow.
And not only did he walk out of that hospital, he ended up finishing high school on time, graduated magna cum laude from Texas Tech University, and now does public speaking and, helps so many others with disabilities. And his next thing that he's working on is to become a hospital chaplain to help others that are going through difficult times. So I see this.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You could have warns me about all this on the, I'm sorry. Thank God he's fine. He could have
Oh,
taken
Yeah,
we've got an amazing God, first and foremost. So
we
I'm
have
sure
an amazing God. There's no
He's good.
doubt, and an amazing wife and mama
Bless him.
who's
God bless
right
his
there.
family. Wow. Wow.
That's amazing. You know, as you were talking and you were talking about it becoming a must-have, you know, rather than a desire or just a big bodacious thing. There's some story about, a wise man, and a young man comes to him and says, I want to be rich, I want to be, successful, I want to be famous, and teach me everything that you can about making that happen. And he takes him to a river and he dunks his head in the water and he's fighting, to get breath, and then he pulls him out, and the guy goes, what are you trying to do? Kill me? And he says, well, as soon as you want breath and want success as much as you want a breath when you're underwater, then you'll be successful. And I'm not telling that story well, but I think you get the idea. It became a must. You were making plans for your son, and then you created this plan to make that happen.
It's dedication. It's beautiful.
What a sacrifice, what a commitment. So let me ask you another kind of big, bodacious, crazy question, Pat. Your theme, I think you've sort of hit on it a little bit. If you had a thread that ran through your life, a theme, a motto, a belief, a scripture, something that you live your life by that comes up again and again, what might that be?
Well, it's something that I had on my computer screen for years and years and years. And I remember when I got the phone call from that life plan study company out of San Antonio, and they told us it was going to be 12 to 23 million dollars. I called my wife when she was at rehab up in Dallas with our son. I said, baby, I want to read you a quote and I want to get your response to it. She said, what's that? And it says, if you will do what most will not do for just the next few years, then you can do what they cannot do for the rest of your life. Baby, are you in? And she says, absolutely, whatever it takes. And she is amazing. The commitment she had for Blake and our son and our family to do that, because she knew that if we didn't have a choice, Rebecca. And it wasn't, and by the way, it doesn't have to be a severe traumatic brain injury that somebody has to have. It just has to be the clarity what somebody has in their life, that for the goals that they have, whether those are dreams or goals, whether those are needs requirement like retirement, children, college, education, weddings, taking care of elderly parents, or even quality of life requirements. I don't want to travel so much. I just talked to a guy right now. He says, I've been home 9 days out of the last 60 days. And those were over the holidays, right? And it's like, whatever those are for them, it was one of those things. Is a lot of people sit there and they think, Rebecca, and because when you say the big, hairy, audacious goals, the BHAG or whatever it is, people feel like they have to have this all figured out from where they are now and what it's going to look like. But if you break it down to, listen, make a commitment for just the next few years, that you're going to go after it, you're going to be relentless and do it. And what happened was, when I told my wife that, I took her out, we started our first business. We thought we were going to have 2 franchises in the first 5 years. We ended up having 3 in the first 3. It went faster. And I remember taking my wife to celebrate our 3-year anniversary after we started our first businesses so we could accomplish these goals. I said, babe, do you remember that quote I shared with you that said that if we would do what most would not do for just the next few years, that we could do what they could not for the rest of their life? She says, yeah. I said, do you realize that in just the last 3 years, we've outperformed the last 17 years combined? Why I say that, Rebecca and Tracy, is it doesn't take as long as people think. And after that, I said, babe, do you want to do it again? She says, yeah, these have been the best days of our lives. And for many reasons. So, and then we did, and 6 years and 2 months into it, we sold those businesses to a private equity company. And like I said, Blake, we didn't have to worry about Blake anymore.
Wow. What a story.
Oh my gosh.
I want a partner like that. I want a Cindy in my life. Only his name needs to be, George or Charles or
I got to share something with you, Rebecca. There's a
Oh,
lot of Cindy's out there, and I truly believe women business owners are the best business owners. I've said this, and I don't mind saying it publicly. Are there a lot of great men business owners? Yes, absolutely. But for so many reasons, I admire my wife so much. But for so many reasons, but being a business owner is one of them. And women are amazing. First of all, at multitasking. Candidly, I am so focused on this or that, and so many people, guys like me, are very similar. Women business owners have the innate ability to go in and see everything that's going on and understand their environment, but also carry that empathy along with them to build amazing teams. And the reason my wife went, and she started Massage Envy, she left Massage Envy as the #1 franchisee out of 1,100 locations at that time when we sold. And it's because she was able to go in and grow and build the team and develop that, but also see all the things. She can be in there doing payroll, sitting on the chair, doing whatever. She can be on the phone with one of her area managers. And my son and I, Blake, can be in the back corner just talking about something. And she'll go, "Oh, that's not right." I'm like, "How did you even know we're talking about this?" Right? That's something that Cindy's of the world have the innate ability that we don't and can transfer into business.
That's amazing. You've heard people say like, "Oh, she's being such a Karen," but it's kind of like a negative connotation, right? We should like all get shirts that said "Be a Cindy," right?
Yeah.
It's not
Cindy.
a mindset, right? Like it's not an option to fail. It's not an option to fail in business. It's not an option for Blake not to get well. Like it's just, is it a mindset?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a mindset because of clarity. We just had a big, clear decision in front of us. And Tracy, to be honest with you, a lot of people that we got into this whole new world of traumatic brain injury, a lot of people unfortunately have to make those decisions, and not everybody made the decision Cindy and I made. Unfortunately, not everybody can, right? For one reason or another, maybe, but the reality is, if you have that clarity and you know what that is, whatever it is for you and your family, or you personally as an individual, the best thing about it is you have a decision to make. Now you know, that's why the book is called Stop Chasing Two Rabbits. Is business ownership right for you?
Right.
And why I wrote it is to help people navigate. Do I go and do something different to achieve all my personal dreams and goals, needs, and quality of life requirements? Or do I keep down the same path? Because then once you know that decision, then you have the decision to make. And then if it's to go out and achieve your dreams and goals, then what kind of business, what size of business, and how does it need to be structured? That's when you start navigating the great world of franchising.
Think, Pat, prevents people from that level of self-reflection that you talked about and taking that risk, not having the regret of not stepping out? What prevents that? Is it, I've just put in all this time in the corporate world and I'm on this, inertia. What prevent it? Is it fear? What is it?
Yeah, it's fear. And you know what the acronym of fear is? False evidence appearing real.
Yep.
I remember talking to a franchisee, Rebecca, when we started our first massage. We're about to invest over $700,000, right, in our first location. And I remember talking to this franchisee, and he heard the fear in my voice. And in that way, because while we knew what we needed to do, it was still nerve-wracking. Fear is, being nervous, but it wasn't going to hold us back. But he goes, "Listen, it sounds like you and Cindy," and she was there, just kind of a little concerned. And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I want to ask you a question, Pat." He goes, "What if we're right?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "What if we're right? What if we build the kind of businesses we say we build? What if we get the support that we say we get from corporate? What if we sell our businesses for the amount we say? What if we're right?" And I said, "That's great. That's what I'm hoping for." He goes, "But what if we're wrong?" I said, "Yeah, what's that look like?" He goes, what if one day, Cindy, you realize a year or 2 years into it, she's getting up at 10:30, 11 in the morning, not doing, whatever. And I said, that's not my wife. She's always up at 5. She's getting after the world, blah, blah, blah. He goes, but let's just say you realize she should have never done business ownership. I said, yeah, what's that look like? He goes, we sell your business. He goes, if you started Cindy and Pat's massage business on your own and it failed, I'd be scared. But when you're part of the nation's largest massage and facial franchise out there, we're gonna sell your business. You're gonna either have another owner buy it, you're gonna buy it to somebody else, you're gonna make money, walk away, and go on with your life and get back into what you're doing. But what if we're right? What if we build the kind of businesses we do, we get the support we say, and we sell them? I goes, that was it. Rebecca, I realize that's the beauty of franchising, is you are out there and you're not alone. You're not figuring out alone. And you're also more appealing to other buyers because you're part of a national franchise brand.
I hadn't heard it put that way before, but it's true. If I would have started my own business, my own brand, I could sell it, but it'd be much more difficult and the price I would get would be less and maybe not even be able to sell it. But when I'm with a bigger company, a franchise, the brand is highly recognizable. It's something people want, especially in a territory that's already developed, right? So that was a really good way that he put that. It kind of helped you put things in perspective and deal with the fear. Either way, you're in.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? People always say at this point, they go, Pat, so it's so easy for you and Cindy now. No, it's not. Every time out of the 11 franchise agreements we've signed and all the things we've done, every time I get nervous, Rebecca and Tracy, every single time. But you know what I realize is this: the fear of change is ultimately never overcome until the benefits of the change are realized. The fear of change is ultimately never overcome until the benefits of the change are realized. What I mean by that is, when we knew what we needed to do for Blake right away, we were nervous, we were scared. What's this going to look like? We went in and we did it. A few months into it, we're going, oh my gosh, this is going faster than we thought. 6 months into it, we're going like, why didn't we do this sooner in life? A year into it, we're like, let's do it again. And guess what? We went through the same thing. Same site, so it's not uncommon. It's normal to go through that. But when you clearly understand that why you're doing what you're doing, you can overcome that fear. If you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you will be prevented and held back. And one day, unfortunately, way too many people later on have the taste of regret.
Patrick, how did you get the title of the book?
Well, because I was talking over the years, I've done a lot of coaching and mentoring with people, and I do a lot of training with franchise developers, helping aspiring entrepreneurs go through the process. And over the years, I started saying, you've heard the old adage, a man or woman who chases 2 rabbits rarely catches one, right? And why that is because a lot of people think, I really want to go out and start a new business, or do I get a job? Well, what happens, Tracy, is too many people try to do both at the same time. Right. And they do themselves a disservice and ultimately never maximize what they can have for them and their family. So that because they don't have clarity. So really, it's stop chasing 2 rabbits, figure out which rabbit you need to chase, and then go for it. If it's going to find a new career, then do it. If it's to go out and start a business, this is the pathway to do it. And this is the guide that I put my team. How this came about is all my team kept saying, Pat, this is great. Every time you talk to a candidate or you help them through it, they always come back and they said, this has been the best exercise. Could you put it in writing? So I took took me a lot longer than it should have, because I'm not a great, it took me a while, but it took me over about a year and a half. And it is literally a process that takes people to go through this process. But the other part about that, Tracy, is if they're married, it helps get a husband and wife on the same page. Or actually, it starts a dialogue that they've never had before, that they didn't even know that they had choices to make. So that's, so that's how the book came about, was, stop chasing 2 rabbits. Is business ownership right for you? Stop playing around. Either it
So-
is or it isn't. Because then put your full-time, energy into building that business, or put your full-time energy into something else. But stop playing this mind games back and forth, because you're doing yourself a disservice.
So you said it's never too late to reassess. So what's the first step in reassessing?
Well, first of all, I really am a firm believer in goal setting of your big dreams, like you said, and that's dreams and goals. It's determined, hey, where do you want to go? What do you want to have? Who do you want to become? That's called taking the lid off, Tracy. Don't be practical. Way too many times people are so practical they can't even dream anymore. Do you want to own a lake home, a mountain home, a beach home? Do you want to own all three? One of our goals over years, Tracy, was my wife and I was to be able to take our extended family on a vacation once a year at our expense, right? Because one of the biggest family time, Rebecca, we were just talking about before we came on here, family time is most valuable to us right now, especially with grandbabies and extended family. So, but the biggest reason they don't do it is because money. They just can't afford it. So we just got back from a vacation with 17 of us that we took down to Cancun and at a resort, and we have family time. So that was a goal we finally hit almost 5 years ago, right? So these big dreams and goals. Then, Tracy, the other one is needs. Needs are practical. Retirement, okay? Children, how much it is for college, all these things, raising them, weddings. Or when our daughter got married 6 years ago, the average wedding cost back then was $35,000. I can only imagine what it is now, right? Taking care of elderly parents. Statistically, think about this. 93% of the US population believed, 93, 95, I've got this exact statistic, but 95% believe that they're going to achieve financial independence by age 65 without having to worry about government subsidy. 95% believe that. Guess what percentage actually achieve statistically financial independence by age 65 without having to worry about government subsidy?
3%, 5%?
5%. That is a huge gap. So think about it. How many of our parents are caught in that gap that we may have to take care of? I had to do it. I mean, I've got stories to take care of my dad. We do it. My mom takes home, or at age 82, she takes home $1,100 a month. You can't live anywhere, much less Waco, Texas, on $1,100 a month. So you have your needs, and then the quality of life requirements, right? How much do you want to give back? It's not all about taking, how much do you want to travel or have vacation, be with your family, whatever that is. So what you do, Tracy, is you develop these criteria and say, then you ask yourself this. If things continue over the next 3+ years as they have over the last 3 years, without making any real significant changes, will we be on track to accomplishing our dreams and our goals, our needs and quality of life requirements? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Because if the answer is yes, guess what? You keep doing it. But if the answer is no, you have one of two choices. What is that? Give up on your goals, needs, and quality of life requirements, or what? Do something about it. What do you think most people do?
I think they give up. They give up.
They do, because they don't have the clarity. So your listeners, you should ask yourself this. What would you do? Is it important enough for you and your family to accomplish retirement, take care of your children, these parents, whatever, your dreams and goals, your quality of life requirements? Yes or no? Because if it is, that's where then you continue through this journey to find out what vehicle is right for you and your family and franchising to achieve that. Because here's the last thing I'll share with you. If you never achieved your dreams and your goals, your needs or your quality of life requirements, what would the consequences of that be? And who would be the victims of those consequences besides yourself? Because the decisions you make as a husband of wives, as wives of husbands, as parents of children, or children of parents, the decisions you make aren't just for you. There's so many other people around you, right? So that's really where Cindy and I, Rebecca and Tracy, always hold the mirror up and we go, if we never accomplish our goals, what would the consequences of that be? And who would be the victims of those consequences besides ourselves?
Yeah.
It would have been Blake.
Good.
It would be our grandbabies, our children, all these, our community, our church even. We love to give on top of tithing and help our community, right? And so we believe personally in our own faith that God has provided us, with much. So therefore, we have much responsibility, and so we have to look at ourselves. And that's what's really important, is to say, hey, because that's the choice, Tracy and Rebecca. What are we going to do with it now that we know the victims and the consequences if we don't?
I wish they would teach us this as teenagers, and I'm guessing you probably pass this message on to your children and as young adults and early married, where you reflect on a regular basis. And this is a perfect conversation for the new year, right? Where you reflect on your life. What are my needs? What are my goals? What I want to accomplish? Am I getting closer or further away? Based on the decisions I made this past 3 months, 12 months, 3 years, whatever it is. And if I'm not getting closer, why? And what do I have to do to change that? And obviously, one of those options, of course, is business ownership, which is a wonderful vehicle to achieve our goals and to express ourselves and to give back, as you pointed out. So it's a wonderful time to talk about this, especially at the first of the year, early January right now. I could carry on this conversation for another 3 hours, but we're at the top of the hour, and I know, Pat, you have back-to-back meetings. I also want to acknowledge in the background, Nelson is with us today, the elk. Can you show us Nelson? He is still full-blown Christmas cheer there, thanks to Cindy,
Cindy, yep, you got it.
who decorates your office. I love it. So Pat, final word from you in terms of maybe a place where you just bumped your head and you made a mistake and you wish you could have, would have, should have. Do you have anything that you can share with us that we can learn from?
Time is not something we have. So many people have this misconception of time, Rebecca, I believe, that, they think I have time to do this and we have time to do that. In all reality, time is not something we have. Time is only something we lose every single day. And so when we spend our time every day to maximize the opportunity we have available, where is our energy to be put? Because you only have this much time every single day. Every opportunity you're going to put in. So are you going to invest your time and only make this much return in your time? Or are you going to make this much return? Where would you want to focus your time? So we, over the years, listen, we did 11, I will share with you, even our mistakes were, our two mistakes in everything that we did from our businesses were still successful, but it wasn't at the level that, some of the other ones were, right? But we learned from them. And it was this whole focus of time. Where are we going to spend it? Where are we going to get the greatest amount of return? But the other thing is this. Building a business, Rebecca and Tracy, is not an either or in giving up family time and quality of life and everything. We have learned through doing this, it's the exact opposite. When we build businesses, we had our family come alongside. So when we go to festivals or fairs or events or whatever, not only did our kids come and our animals come in their shirts and everything, but now our grandchildren come along. And they get to get raised in a business and get to be able to do all that. And they're exposed to that. So many times, too often, people think, if I start a business, I'm going to have to spend more time and give up all this stuff. And candidly, I've never seen that be the case. It's just this misconception. So I'd say those are the things that, I've really.
Beautifully stated. Especially when you talk about the minutes and the time that if we don't invest them wisely, they're gone. We've lost that time. It isn't something we can get back. Thank you again, Pat, for being with us today. Tracy, any final words from you?
I'm just so impressed, Patrick, with you and Cindy and your partnership and your communication level and your motivation level. It's just such a blessing to see or to hear the two of you, how you communicate, and for you to share that with us, along with the goal setting and the steps to take yourself from here to here if you're not already there. I don't mean to sound like a Dr. Seuss book, but
It's
but
great.
I
Well,
really appreciate hearing all of that. So thank you so much for joining us. You guys are rock stars, truly.
you guys are, and I am blessed, man. Cindy is our rock of our family, and I really am truly blessed with that. And thank you for all you're doing for your listeners, seriously, to help them determine what's best for them. You guys are a great resource.
We appreciate that, Pat. And thank you to our audience that's listening in today. Make sure to comment, like, and of course, share Patrick Hyland's interview today. And we'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged.